Imagine that you have arrived at your job or place of employment. You go to begin your task of the day, and then you start feeling the sense that you have experienced that day before, or maybe a specific event. You don't understand why, but you feel like you've already lived that moment. Today, we're going to take a look at one of the most puzzling psychological anomalies known as déjà vu. The word déjà vu comes from the French, which plainly means already been seen, and that it defines the feeling we experience during those odd moments. Throughout the history of mankind, many different explanations have been created in the attempt to explain this phenomenon. The most famous explanation is actually pretty simple. They are just dreams. Many people believe that they have previously dreamed up the events of their lives, and that later upon the happening of said events comes the feeling of familiarity. This explanation may be probable since dreams tend to be real-life simulators, but there is another, less likely but much more interesting explanation for déjà vu. The explanation of the eternal return is perhaps one of the most interesting theories. This theory proposes that our reality is subject to an infinite temporal cycle, where everything we experience happens again and again. We are destined to live our lives again and again for eternity, and that the déjà vu is simply the memories of our previous lives. It wouldn't be strange to anybody to feel déjà vu while watching this video, because it would mean that you have seen it an infinite number of times in your previous lives. Although this explanation is perhaps the most interesting, it is the least likely. Also, many people believe that when suffering déjà vu, we are simply remembering our future. That humans possess the ability to have premonitions about what happens to him or her. Though an interesting explanation to this phenomenon, it does not prove it either. What is the most probable explanation of the origin of déjà vu? Today, it is believed that déjà vu is created by our own brains, our own perception of reality. Our brains function like computers. It stores everything we perceive through our senses. It stores our reality and turns it into memories. But when the brain is not finished building or recording what is being perceiving in reality and tries to interpret it with memories, it gives us the feeling that we have already remembered an event. In other words, our brain stores information to later remember them, but sometimes that information gets confused as memories. And we feel that we are remembering something when in fact our brain is storing it. Something like a failure to record in a computer. It is also believed that there is an overlap between neurological systems responsible for short and long-term memory, in which recent events are perceived as a distant past, but in reality they are occurring at the moment. Something that we must also take into account is that we do not see reality in real time. Our brain interprets reality in an incredibly fast speed, where all of our senses and our neurological system work together. But if one of these systems fails, our perception of reality can be affected. And we could say that the phenomenon known as déjà vu is simply faults of our perception of reality in our brains. Tell me what you believe about this subject. What other explanations you give to this phenomenon known as déjà vu. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, assume nothing and question everything.